Brian Flores filing a discrimination lawsuit against the NFL. And a lot to unpack with this lawsuit, a 58-page lawsuit filed at the very start of this month on Black History Month as well. I'm going to put my reporter hat as we go through this report, 58 pages, but I wanted to get your first impressions from, your takeaways from reading through the lawsuit.
Man, it's just tough, but it's been the same old thing. This been going on for years. I think Brian Flores, he didn't want to do it, but to tip his hat off when he saw the Coach Belichick text, he was like, you know what? It was in my head, but this is definitely a go. Then he had the facts to come with it. If you look in the article on, getting paid $100,000 if you lose and with the top draft pick. So it's like, damn, I'm giving everything I didn't work for. And what I mean what I didn't work for, like I worked my butt off to try to be in this position. There's only 32 teams in the NFL, and I was one of 32 in the world. So to try to renege on me, to try to downplay me, to everything I didn't work for in my life to get in this position, you want me to lose ball games and give me $100,000 for each loss. Why? There goes my resume. So everything I done built from the ground up, from the day I done walked in, for me, letting go a Minka Fitzpatrick, for me, getting these draft picks, for me, taking criticism on everybody saying I was crazy on doing this, to actually building the team. Then the quarterback you give me, man, I didn't really at the time want the quarterback. I want another quarterback who possibly could have get me into the situation, being the playoffs. Not only the playoffs, if you just look what Joe Burrow doing, I potentially could have got to the Super Bowl, because you see what I have done with my roster with an okay kind of quarterback, and this is no disrespect to Tua. But he like, you know what, man, let me take this even further, man. Let me just go and see how many black coaches in the NFL. There's only one right now, head coach, and that's Coach Mike Tomlin for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you know what, let me talk to a few other people, man. I guess what, Coach Hugh Jackson, how you felt over there in Cincinnati? Well, you know what, they try to do the same thing to me. So it's like, dang, so we barely have any GMs, we barely have any assistant coaches. And when you look at the NFL and it's damn near 70% black players, it's like, dang, so we can't coach our kind of players? Like, when is the playing level going to be even? And just because, my son's dad, ain't a buddy of yours, don't mean I'm not qualified, because obviously y'all as in owners, and owners as in being white, y'all ain't worrying about the qualification. It's a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, So it's like, dang, I'm qualified. Then he get into the, the Tony Dungy situation. He gets fired after a winning season. Then gets to the Jim Caldwell situation with Detroit. Yeah. He gets fired in doing the winning season. It's like, dang, this is no disrespect to Coach Zach with Cincinnati. Like, before Justin Burrow, I was 6-25. Mm-hmm. Now I get Joey. Now I get Jackpot Joey, and he revamped me. Well, how about a black coach getting fired? When he does have a winning record, and Hugh coming out now, and I think others gonna come out. How about Deuce Staley? We've been talking about Deuce Staley for the longest. Like, Deuce Staley has been under Andy Reid when he was in Philly. Now he was the assistant head coach in Detroit, and he still can't get a head coaching job. Mm-hmm. So, Brian Leftwich, shout out to Brian Leftwich. He wound up getting opportunity, but it's like, dang, how many obstacles and hurdles we got to go through?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many times have you told a coach before that's not black, I think we need to lose a lot of these games so we can get a top draft pick? No, the whole thing for the NFL is for me not to get a top draft pick, because that means our team is doing well. Yeah. So I guess man, he just had enough. I guess he heard enough. I guess he's seen enough. I guess him as a head coach, never been in that position, was like, hold on, man, this is crazy. Like, I didn't even know he worked at this level. I didn't even know he worked at this level. So then he look at coaches getting recycled in the NFL, like, dang, we just recycling the same coaches over and over and over and over. How about giving one of us black coaches a chance? Because I'm sure we got just as good relationships as the white coaches. Give us a shot. Let us go 6-25 and let us catch us with Joe Burrow and see what happens. So I can understand this. I can understand his frustration, but here we go again. When you talk about the Miami Dolphins, that's just what they do. They always find a way to F it up. And that's just what it is. That's why I'm so fortunate I played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know. That's why I'm so, you know, it's the Green Bay Packers and San Francisco 49ers. It's a lot of good organizations out there. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm fortunate enough. But to see Brian Flores to do this, he was all the way in, and he think he got enough to back himself up when it comes down to going to court.
Hey, just to clarify for our listeners and viewers, Flores' lawsuit is considered a class action lawsuit. Now, here's what that means. It leaves room for others to join the litigations.
Cool.
And so Hugh Jackson's commentary indicated that he could potentially do that.
Correct.
I want to go back to something you said in terms of the chance, because we talked about this about a year and a half ago when the league was considering expanding the Rooney Rule to award teams draft picks if they went ahead and hired a minority candidate. Obviously, those rules did not go through. But at the time, we talked about it's not necessarily the equality of outcome, but the equality of opportunity. So let's unpack what happened with Flores. And I'll start with the first interview that he had with the New York Giants. You know, the first question I had was, if Bill Belichick knew in advance, how did he know? Well, to give our listeners and viewers a little bit of history, Bill Belichick coached for the Giants from 1979 to 1990, or through the 1990 season. So he spent a decade with that organization, is still probably very well connected throughout the league, considering, okay, he hasn't just been the Patriots coach. He also coached with the Cleveland Browns. So clearly, you know, there is how Belichick might know that information with the text message where he thought he was texting Brian Dable and he was actually texting Brian Flores. Then you go to the interview with the Broncos, which he didn't end up getting that job. He ended up getting the Dolphins job. But I think the Rooney Rule is well-intentioned to be able to require teams to interview black candidates. But they're not taking the interview process seriously. And again, these are all allegations and accusations, so you try to take them for what you will, because there's two sides to every story. But if they're not taking that process seriously, that goes against the spirit of what the Rooney Rule was intended to do. And so then thirdly, I mean, you talk about potentially meeting with Tom Brady before he was officially a free agency on a yacht, and the owner saying, I'm going to give you $100,000 for losing games. If that proves to be true, that shows what the culture is with the Miami Dolphins organization, an organization that hasn't won a playoff game, might I add, since December 30th, 2000, Ike. We're talking about more than 2 decades. So, I mean, Ike, you and I live in Florida, right? It's like the sunshine. It's a no-income tax state. When there's smoke, there's fire, right? And so when I hear these allegations, and Brian Flores has been involved as a coach in this league since like the mid-2000s, when I hear that the NFL comes back with the statement and says, oh, his allegations are without merit, it's somewhere in the middle, right? And this is where I put my reporter hat on, because lawsuits are written to look very, very bad, you know, against the people that you're making accusations against. But to say that Flores' allegations are without merit for as long he's been a coach in this league is an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke, Ike. And so I know, to clarify that too, a league source reached out to ESPN and said that the comment only pertained to the accusation of discrimination in hiring practices. But I think there's more than that in this lawsuit than just potential racial discrimination, Ike. You're talking about if he was paid $100,000 to lose games intentionally, and Hugh Jackson is accusing former Browns front office of doing the same thing, you're going against the spirit of the game. And regardless of how this shakes out, Ike, 2 things. From a PR standpoint, the NFL has a disaster on its hands as the legal process plays out through this. And then number 2, losing my train of thought here. Then number 2, it would be like, we'll see how all of this plays out, Ike, but that's kind of just my thought process. But not to conduct interviews in good faith, and to say that Flores' claims are without merit, I don't buy that. It's got to be somewhere in the middle. It's got to be somewhere in the middle.
No, Flores feels some kind of way about it. So the fact that he understood what he's jeopardizing on the potential possibly never coaching in the NFL anymore, like he feel really about his situation. The fact
let me hop in, Ike. That was my second point, and you helped me remind me. There are still 4 other teams with head coaching vacancies at the time of this recording right now. So he could still potentially be those coaches, but with this lawsuit that's now filed, is a team that's trying to rebuild its franchise really going to want to bring Flores in now that he's filed this lawsuit? I'm sorry, you helped me remember the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, but it's going to be tough too. You know what I'm saying? Because it's me versus all 32, regardless on how you want to look at it. So it's a Billionaires Boys Club, and I think we talked about this. The Billionaires Boys Club, they fight each other during the season. They want their team to get a Super Bowl or make money to hit the playoffs. But during the offseason, Mark, they stick together. So the fact that he understands that part, I guess him and his lawyer like, okay, we got a case. We got a real firm case. And I guess his lawyer said, man, are you 100% in this? Are you 10 toes deep? Because if you're 10 toes deep, it's a strong possibility you will never coach in the NFL anymore. And I guess Brian Flores like, you know what, this for the future. This ain't for me. So let's go. I understand. So it's just sad to see. This been going on for years though. We haven't been given it, we as in blacks, haven't been given the opportunity as whites to do something in the league when it comes down to the front office, assistant coaching and head coaching as white coaches. That's just what it is. But when you just look at the owners see them, the owners look at who looks like me, not who's capable of doing the job. And that's just the crazy thing about it. So we'll see. But the fact that Brian Flores went all in with it, he must got a strong case because they're gonna try to dig up something. That's just what the NFL, that's what these 32 billionaires do. So I took my hat to him for understanding and jeopardizing what he probably worked for his whole life to get in that position to be a head coach, because it's hard being a head coach. He had one of 32 jobs in the world when it came for the NFL, but he strongly believes this is unfair, and he's trying to even the playing field out by giving some kind of awareness and making it public.
Again, I go back to the equality of opportunity and not the equality of outcome. The Dolphins owner, Stephen Ross, late Wednesday night has called the allegations false, malicious, and defamatory, promising to defend his personal integrity too. So we'll see how all of this plays out. But if you're meaning to tell me that a team was paying a head coach to tank and then holding that against them, I mean, Flores led the Dolphins to their first back-to-back winning season since 2003. Right. Dolphins team in the 2021 season started out 1-7. They won 8 of their last 9 games, finished with a 9-8 record. But if this is true, man, like I'm telling you this from a standpoint of, if the Dolphins had a head coaching vacancy, I wouldn't want to go coach there through all of this, because when there's smoke, there's fire. And if one party's saying one thing and the other party is saying the complete opposite, one of them isn't telling the truth. And that's the case here, Ike. So what I'm curious to see about this case moving forward, and before we move on, would be, because this is a class action lawsuit, will other people back Flores and add to the claims he has filed in this suit? An amount in terms of what he could potentially be awarded would be determined at a trial to compensate Flores, anyone else who could join his lawsuit, for non-monetary and compensatory damages, including but not limited to loss of reputation, loss of opportunity, and mental anguish as well. I don't think that this will go to trial, just knowing how long the legal process plays out. But the longer this stays in the discussion of media members, I think at some point you reach a lawsuit in whether Flores' claims have merit or not. Just the fact that we're having a discussion about it, eventually the league's going to want this problem to go away. This is a major, major, major story. In all honesty, too, I can't believe Roger Goodell hasn't said anything yet. I know the league is probably investigating on its end, but the initial statement to say that Flores' claims are without merit, I understand the NFL is trying to protect its interests as well. But again, I go back to, you can't have one person say one thing and then the other person say the exact opposite. one of them isn't the truth. I really think it's somewhere in the middle.
So, when you talk about Roger Goodell, like, it's going to be tough because I'm getting paid by the owners.
Yep.
So
great point, Ike.
You know what I'm saying? Whose side you going to pick? Really, I'm not going to say nothing at all. I'm going to keep it as vanilla as possible if I'm Roger Goodell. And I'm just trying to speak on what I possibly think he's going to do. I don't think he's going to step into this kind of water, because they're talking to him about it. Now, they probably talk to him about the rules and the laws and the Rooney Rule on how can they change this right now for real. Because since Papa died, Dan Rooney, since he died, man, they ain't been the same. And Mr. Rooney he was very advocate on, letting minorities get a fair chance. He made that rule up. He made that rule up because, on the train rides, the players helped them in school. They helped them with math. They helped them with English. And at the time when they was winning Super Bowls, the players was black. And this is just some of the stories Mr. Rooney used to say. So he understands, he gets it. Like, that's how they made their money, the Rooney family, by football. So he understands the minority part clearly. A lot of owners don't make their money off of football. That's a secondary thing. That's a secondary hobby, So when your family was just all in football and you come up with this Rooney Rule because you solely understand, man, what it is, and you've been around minorities, like, I get y'all. And what I mean by that, I get how y'all think. I get how possibly I get how I was taught. I get when mom and dad came to home and told me, and now I see it. Because for me, it all starts at home. We were never born racist. That's just what it is. That got to be installed and built in somebody. So I'm not saying the Miami owners racist. I'm just saying the unfairness in the NFL towards blacks on having the opportunity to be GMs and assistant and head coaches. So the tides got to turn. That's just what it is. So like I say, man, Brian Flores, for him to come out and be all in with it, he must got some kind of case, Mark.
If I could ask him any question, I'd probably ask him about the timing of filing the lawsuit, Ike, right, because he's probably not happy that he got fired from his head coaching duties as the Miami Dolphins, and then also thinking that he's right there as a finalist candidate for the New York Giants. I certainly understand his frustrations. Same time, it doesn't take away from what Brian Daboll's going to do, because what he did into the development of Josh Allen, a big, mobile, strong quarterback who, before Daboll really worked with him, he had one of the lowest completion percentages in the league. You bring Daboll in, and you understand that they're going to want to try to do the same thing with Daniel Jones. Now, to keep this on Flores' lawsuit, though, I think you and I are of the thought process, best person for the job, point blank, period. In the NFL, it's two things. It's trying to win a Super Bowl and it's trying to make as much money as possible. But right, for me, like, sports is the ultimate meritocracy in terms of it doesn't matter your background, your race, creed, religion, ethnicity, what have you. It should be the best man for the job. And again, I go back to, you're not always going to have something that is reflective of, okay, yes, 70% of the players are black, but they need to have the equality of opportunity to do so. And when time and time again this comes up, I'll say this too, and the Steelers are a great example of this. If teams are being racist, if they're being discriminatory, and there's a collection of minority coaches that are being overlooked, you might potentially get a great coach. And I look no further than what the Pittsburgh Steelers have done with head coach Mike Tomlin, 15 right, years in, no losing seasons.
15 years.
So if this is the case, Dyke, right, it's like you could potentially bring in someone who would thrive for one of these organizations and do a tremendous job and be the next great head coach, the next great owner, the next great general manager, the next great coordinator, if this is in fact happening.
No, 15 years, no losing season. And then when you look at, Coach Tomlin come under the Tony Dungy tree. Jim Caldwell, the Tony Dungy tree. Like, it's like, golly, man, like, give us a chance. Raheem Morris, we're going to see. Who else? Brian Leverage. He got a head coaching job with Jacksonville. Eric Bieniemy. We were talking about Eric Bieniemy for the past 3 years.
Yeah, whenever we talk about the head coaching carousel, like his name always comes up.
Always, Eric Bieniemy always come up. And Andy Reid said he called the plays. What else you want the man to say? Like, that's my play caller. Yeah. Every night Coach Andy Reid, like every now and then I might put my 2 cents in, but he's the play caller. Like, this is his stage. This is what he do. It's like, man, he done been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, won one. You know what I'm saying? Well, like, he was in the AFC Championship and wound up losing. But golly, like, what you want Eric Bieniemy to do? What else can he do?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, then when you ask the players about Coach Eric Bieniemy, they would love to see Coach Eric Bieniemy get a head coaching job, but they would hate to see him leave. I mean, God, what else you want the players and people to say?
Yeah.
You know, Coach, we would love for you to create your own legacy. But damn, just selfishly speaking, we really don't want you to leave. We love your video. This coming from players. Man, this is bananas. But I get it, though.